This is Alexander Playtime Williams of PlayTimeCares.com.
What's up, world? This is Alexander Playtime Williams of PlayTimeCares.com. Give you your full Raw recap from February 22nd, 2016. This one was in Detroit, Michigan, Joe Louis Arena. JBL, Michael Cole, Brian Saxon, your commentaries. Of course, yesterday was Fastlane. It was a Fastlane pay-per-view, so the only match that they actually built up for the entire month leading up to Fastlane was the main event, which was a triple threat match. So they start off with a recap of the triple threat match between Brock Lesnar, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns, which of course Roman Reigns won. So the next segment that they jumped to was a WWE.com Facebook video post that showed Dean Ambrose showing up to the arena, and then Brock Lesnar doing a sneak attack and beating him into the point to where he had to be transported to the hospital via ambulance. So they flashed over to inside Joe Louis Arena, and in the ring you saw that Legacy Excellence Award, which was going to be the first time they were going to present this. Is named after Vince J. McMahon, the pretty much the predecessor of the whole WWE, which I believe it was the WWF back then. Three W's, one F. Vince McMahon comes out, crowd excited. He comes in. I give you a long story short. He gives all of these high accolades that you have to earn in order to get this award, and he calls Stephanie McMahon out as a recipient of the award. So of course the crowd is upset about that. They booing her and whatnot, and then she's interrupted. Normally it's by Dean Ambrose or Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar accompanied by Paul Heyman, but not this time. It's actually Shane McMahon. You haven't seen Shane O'Mac in. It's been the last time I actually remember seeing him, and I know this is wrong, but the last time he had a purposeful impact was when he bought the WCW and he showed up to have the WCW versus the WWE war. So, of course, the crowd was excited. The crowd let him have it, thanking him and just cheering for him for like the next 5-6 minutes. So it was actually good to see him going on, and it was actually a great way to start off the show. He pretty much said, "Look, Stephanie, you didn't earn this award. You don't deserve it." And Stephanie told him, "Well, who are you to tell me something? You've been sitting at home while me and my husband been making sure that this company has been a billion-dollar company." And then Shane was like, "Oh, you never told him, Vince?" Vince was like, "Hey, Stephanie, just go in the back. I talked to you and I'll present the award later." Shane was like, "No, let her know." And essentially Shane said, "Look, I bailed out this company when Dad was killing it, and I have controlling interest in this company, so I'm ready to take back my role." So Stephanie, of course, was like, "Hey, well, is this true?" He's like, but just don't worry about it, Stephanie. Go to the back. I explain everything later." So Steph goes to the back, and Vince's like, "Hey, Shane, what is it that you want?" He's like, I want to control Raw." And we all know that Raw is a flagship product of the company. So if you control Raw, you pretty much control the entire company. He's like, "Okay, I would let you control Raw if you have one match and you win the match. I want you to have a match at WrestleMania." Well, first Shane agreed to it, which doesn't make sense. This is when the poor writing comes into play. If you already have control and interest of the company, why would you wrestle to give up your shares of the company? You're the guy. You just sit there and say, "Hey, I'm the guy." So screw y'all. But hey, WWE writers been horrible for months, on top of months that's leading into years. So of course this is a mess up on their part. So he agrees to do a match. Vince McMahon stipulations is that he wrestled at WrestleMania and he has to win, but now he has to wrestle the Undertaker at WrestleMania, which we all know the Undertaker only had one loss at WrestleMania, and he lost that in New Orleans. They shouldn't have done that, but that's another story. And he had to beat the Undertaker at a Hell in a Cell match. And if he doesn't win, then he has to give up his control and interest in the company. Poor writing. Don't even make sense. Once again, just like WWE Fastlane that happened yesterday, they throwing together matches that don't even make sense at the last second. So okay, so now you have a main event caliber match. You have the Undertaker coming to wrestle one more time, and it's for the company. Doesn't make sense. No build up, no nothing. But whatever. But at least it was good to see Shane McMahon. So you had your first match. It was a 6-man tag team: Neville, Lucha Dragons versus the New Day. This match was actually a pretty good follow up for that Shane O'Mac intro, and this match was a 3 out of 5. It was an average match with a lot of high points in it. Once again, we need the cruiserweight division because the Lucha Dragons proved and Neville Dragons proved that the crowd actually want real wrestling. And sometimes I just like to say that the cruiserweight is as close to real wrestling as you can get. If you want sports entertainment, that's the cruiserweight division. But you can't mess with the New Day. New Day rocks. So the New Day end up winning that one. Kofi Kingston pulled the mask over one of the Lucha Dragons' face, turned it sideways, and they gave him trouble in paradise. Boom, got the pin victory. So they cut away to a segment. You have Roman Reigns walking, checking his cell phone, and they interview him, asking him what he doing. He pretty much said he was checking on Dean Ambrose, but he can't get an update on him. Then they asked him, well, let's unfocus you for your match. Now that you won the fast lane triple threat, and you have to face Triple H for the title at WrestleMania, well, let's unfocus you. And of course, Roman Reigns like, heck no, I'm gonna beat Triple H at WrestleMania. So they recap Brock Lesnar attacking Dean Ambrose again. They just showed that footage once again. Then you have Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar come to the ring, and pretty much Paul Heyman explained that Brock Lesnar was upset for Dean Ambrose causing him to lose the triple threat match because he had the match won. So that was his payback. Since he caused him not to win it, he just was getting his payback on him. And he also said that Brock Lesnar's still upset. He wants to wrestle at WrestleMania, so he need a new opponent. Then they showed on the Jumbotron an ambulance showing up. Then the ambulance came inside the arena, on side of the stage. And of course, it's driven by Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose pretty much crawls out of the ambulance, takes off the little neck brace on him and everything. And, Brock Lesnar comes out the ring, see Dean Ambrose crawling, and see he's still injured. So Brock Lesnar literally just walked on him and just walked up the ramp. Dean Ambrose grabbed the mic and said, look, I want some of you at WrestleMania. I want a no holds barred street fight match against you at WrestleMania. So Brock Lesnar came down there and F5'd him. And Paul Heyman said, hey, I think he's saying that he accepts your match. Boom. Okay. Then they did a quote from Halle Berry in honor of Black History Month. So you finally get to your second match. And that's the Usos versus the Ascension. The Usos was in the ring. The Ascension was in the ring. Team 3D, the Dudley Boys, shows up to the top of the ramp, and they reiterated that they're not a nostalgia act. They're not going to be defined by putting people through the table. No more tables. They came to win. They came to be a real force. Sorry that the Usos had to get beat up by them. And of course, they showed from 2 weeks ago when the Dudley Boys turned on the Usos. They showed that, and of course the Usos was steaming, and they're looking at Team 3D, and they said, look, you should have told your father, who is Rikishi, should have told him to stop buying all those stones and actually teach y'all some respect. So, of course, they're upset. The Ascension attacked them from behind, but once the Usos got control of the match, it was over, and they just super kicked them, both of the Ascension. They kicked their heads off their shoulder. That match was over. 1, 2, 3, quick pin victory for the Usos. That match was a 2 out of 5, just an average match. Your average WWE match, nothing really special about it. Then you had Y2J come to the ring, Chris Jericho, and he pretty much was saying, talked about essentially his 2 out of 3 falls match with AJ Styles that's happened over the last couple of weeks, and say, hey, he respected him, called AJ Styles out, said it to his face, I respect you, shook his hand, and the Social Outcasts interrupted and called them Y2AJ. Team Y2AJ, and saying that they don't believe that they're actually a real team, and they don't believe that he's really sincere. So Chris Jericho was like, screw y'all, let's fight. So, of course, your third match is the Social Outcasts versus, as they dub, Y2AJ. And, of course, the Social Outcasts started off strong, just so once Y2J and AJ Styles beat them senseless, it made sense. So, of course, submission victory on that one. Walls of Jericho. That's a wrap. Match was about a 2 out of 5. It was just an average match. It would have a 1 or 2 good hits, but not enough to move it to 3 out of 5. They, of course, they had a recap of Shane McMahon showing up tonight. They got the hammer at home that Shane O'Mac is coming, and he's going to fight the Undertaker at WrestleMania. Got the hammer at home because your show didn't do a build up to it. So they cut off to the back, and Triple H is telling Steph not to let it go with Shane. Let that whole situation go on. He said, "Hey, we're going to end this night the way we wanted, since it didn't start the way that we wanted it." And he asked, "Hey, you want to give Roman Reigns the news, or you want me to give him the news?" Stephanie's like, "Please let me tell him." So Stephanie finds Roman Reigns in the back and let him know that. Asked him what he was doing. He was like, "Look, I'm trying to check on Dean Ambrose." He said, "Don't worry about that, because you got a match. You got a match against Sheamus. And not only do you have a match against Sheamus, but his boys, the League of Nations, will be ringside. And it'd be a real shame if they just decide to beat you senseless to the point to where you have to forfeit your match because you've been getting pushed so much and they've been getting snubbed so much, and they take out their professional frustration on you. So go ahead and just get ready for your match. Hopefully you'll be able to face my husband at WrestleMania." So okay. So they cut away to Goldust bringing an apology cake to R-Truth. And R-Truth was like, "Man, you keep stalking me. I can't even go to the bathroom without you being around. Waste champagne on my wife's dress. I mean, look, I don't want to be a tag team with you." He's like, "Man, I already know what you're going to say and all that type of stuff. I can read you. That's why we'll make a good tag team." He's like, "So you thinking that right now that I'm probably going to push this cake in your face, huh?" He's like, "Yeah, but I hope you don't." He's like, "See, I'm better than that. You can't read my thoughts." And he walked away. Then he came back and said, "I lied." And then he pushed the cake in Goldust's face. Of course, Goldust ate a little bit and scoffed. Yes. So you go to your fourth match. You got the Wyatt family versus Kane, Ryback, and the Big Show. Same match from last night at Fastlane. Kane, Ryback, and Big Show won that match. So, of course, if they're doing a rematch less than 24 hours later, you already know that the Wyatt family is going to win that. Yes, the Wyatt family won it. Match is about a 2 out of 5. How did they win it? Ryback all of a sudden decided that he was just going to leave the match. He just left the match. Kane is looking at him. Big Show is looking at him. And he just walks away from the match. So Kane got caught, and Sister Abigail pin victory for the Wyatt family. So they catch Ryback out in the back and was like, they interviewed him like, "Hey, what's up?" And then he ended up sounding like Sasha Banks. "Hey, I'm ready to do my own thing. I don't want to do tag team anymore. I've won the tag team match for us last night. I'm tired of all of this, blah, 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 blah." So once again, WWE with poor writing. They got two people doing the exact same storyline. Senseless. But hey, that's what he did. So he walked out on him because he's ready to be his own guy. So maybe they're going to give Ryback a title push, even though throughout the whole match they was yelling Goldberg and things of that nature, because the WWE writers won't let people have their own individuality and their own personality. But that's that. Third match, you have Sasha Banks versus Naomi with Tamina. And back and forth action, and of course Tamina interfered intermittently, and that happened until Becky Lynch ran out the back and attacked Tamina. And then while Naomi is looking at your girl get attacked, her girl Tamina getting attacked by Sasha Banks. Get attacked by Becky Lynch. Sasha Banks gets Naomi, put her in a bank statement. She taps out, and that's that. So Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks, they shake hands and all that type of stuff. Charlotte comes out and say, "Hey, since I beat the Bella Twin, we're actually, I don't have an opponent, so the people in charge say that now y'all have to fight, and whoever win, y'all get to face me at WrestleMania." So, okay, we already saw that coming because they keep making everybody, Naomi, Tamina, Natalya, they make all of them lose. So we already knew that one of either Sasha Banks or Becky Lynch was going to get the face at WrestleMania. That was pretty poor writing on that one too. So then they did a James Brown quote for Black History Month, and then they showed Shane McMahon showing up again because they got the hammered home since they did not do a build up for Shane coming. Poor writing. And Steph is sitting with Vince McMahon in the back. Is like, look, I don't trust actually having to work for my brother. And Vince said, look, the cards are pretty much stacked against him because the Undertaker really don't lose at WrestleMania. Keep in mind, he only lost one time in New Orleans, and you know, he doesn't lose a Hell in a Cell match. So, this is really stacked against Shane O'Mac. It's Machiavellian in in its construction. So Stephanie's like, all right, well, hopefully it's a good calculated risk. And then they showed that the Godfather is going to be inducted into this 2016 Hall of Fame class. So him and Sting are the 2016 Hall of Famers of this year. The Godfather was a really popular character. Um, Late 90s, early 2000s, he was a pimp. One of the black characters they got over, he was a pimp and he brought hoes from each place that he went to. Really popular with before this PG crowd. He was really popular with the men with the men folk back in the day. I got to see him in New Orleans. He brought out they had a Bourbon Street like lingerie show and all that type of stuff. But that's neither here nor there. So your sixth and final match was actually Roman Reigns versus Sheamus with the League of Nations around him. And obvious, they want to showcase that Roman Reigns is a strong guy. It's the one versus all angle that they've been doing for the last few months. And of course, the League of Nations was beating up on them until the referee was forced to make them go to the back. And Roman Reigns his arm is already kind of hurt from Brock Lesnar putting him in a Kimura last night, and you got Sheamus concentrating on that. The League of Nations concentrated on that. So he's fighting Sheamus. They fought to exhaustion. They both fall out outside the ring. So the refs are counting. Ref gets to about 7. Roman Reigns able to get up, get into the ring. He should have been counted out, but I don't know who screwed up what, but he didn't. Triple H ended up coming down and attacking Roman Reigns. So they have it on the site that he won by disqualification, but the referee was already at 9.5 when the music hit from Triple H. So it should have been a count out. He'd have won by a count out anyway. So Triple H pretty much beat him until he was bloody in the face wearing a crimson mask. And the referees and the medical staff came and got Triple H off of him. Triple H got at him again and did the pedigree on the steel steps. And that was the end of the match. That was the end of the whole episode in the Raw. So, hey, follow me, Playtime Cares on everything. I'm liking all of the comments, thumbs up, thumbs down, comments, negative comments, at least looking. Thank you, everybody that's watching. Hey, Playtime out.